Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population and with little or no meaningful engagement leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say. The National Assembly of Nigeria, NASS, is the highest legislative body in the country, comprising the Senate and the House of Representatives. As the representatives of the people, the National Assembly is entrusted with the sacred responsibility of upholding the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Constitution, which serves as the supreme law of the land, it outlines the fundamental principles and values that governs the nation. However, in recent times, there have been growing concerns about the commitment of the National Assembly to upholding the Constitution. Many Nigerians have expressed frustration and disappointment with the perceived failure of the legislative body to perform its constitutional duties. From allegations of corruption and abuse of power to the passage of laws that seem to undermine the principle of democracy and human rights, the National Assembly has faced intense scrutiny and criticism. As the country continues to grapple with numerous challenges, including economic stagnation, insecurity, and social inequality, the role of the National Assembly in upholding the Constitution has become more critical than ever before. The question on the lips of many Nigerians tonight is our National Assembly truly upholding our Constitution? Are our elected representatives living up to their oath of office, or are they prioritizing personal interest and party loyalty over the welfare of the nation? It's another beautiful episode on your favorite primetime show, Ways. My name remains Osajua Mesale. And tonight, we're asking the question, as I'd mentioned earlier, speaking to Nigeria, is our National Assembly upholding our Constitution? Now, remember, Ways is all about you. You are the why in Ways. So be a part of the live conversation every single day. You can also add your voice to the discussion. Head on now to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, and of course, like and share the links to your friends and family to also join in on the live conversation right now. When I open the phone lines, I would, of course, really want to hear what you have to say on this topic. As always, let you ponder on my quote for today. It says, "The emergency rule declared by President requires the approval of the National Assembly with a 2/3 majority vote by members." And this was from Honorable Ademore Nkuye. So I don't know what to say. But you see, what we are trying to do with Ways is the fact that it is not just about us right here talking in the studio. It's truly about you. And because it is about you, because Ways is about you, we also would love to hear what you have to say. We are introducing, or we have introduced, a segment where you can get featured on the show live as an online audience, meaning that you can appear with your video. So during the show, you get to appear virtually and also air your opinion about the topic, right? So to just join the show, virtually. So your video will show so that when you're talking, if they're looking for who they want to go and carry, see they'll go to go and carry. I'm just kidding. So that when you're talking, we can see your videos, not just only your audio. So you can just send and add me to our WhatsApp line. Right, the WhatsApp line is 081-803-4663. When you send and add me to WhatsApp line, we'll add you on our Zoom platform where we can then, admit you in virtually to join the conversation. Yes, today we're asking the question, and it would be nice if you can, explore our new feature. Is the National Assembly upholding the Constitution? That's the question. So we'll delve into all of this much later. I have a guest that will be joining me. But first, let me quickly run off on a break and just, breeze through my news interests for the day. Stay with me. Okay, so let me start with, you remember that Senator Natasha Akpoti had gone to the court, and of course she got a suspension that was going to suspend any probe, right? But right now, the Federal High Court in Abuja has overturned its March 4th ruling, which had declared the suspension of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan by the Senate unlawful and void. Justice Obiora Igwatu vacated the earlier ruling after hearing the arguments from both plaintiff counsel and the lawyers representing the defendants in the case. Justice granted Natasha's 5 reliefs, including Order Number 4, which declared any action taken by the defendant during the suit as null and void and without any effect. The judge granted the 5 prayers after Sanusi Musa, who represented Natasha, moved that ex parte motion. So they had suspended it, but right now it has been overturned. So let us see how that goes. And, if you've been following all the stories online, Natasha is not backing down. She's gone on Sky News. She's gone on BBC. I don't know how far this would go. Yesterday, I saw a very troubling video of how people claimed to have been cajoled or deceived to come for an empowerment program, only for them to be instructed to come with their voter's card and all of that. And then they found out that that was, somewhat like a backdoor approach to recalling the senator. Nigeria is just full of a lot of intrigues. I don't know what to say. But hey, my job is to say what is happening, and I think I need to start keeping quiet more. All right, so as we all know, the Senate has also approved Rivers emergency rule. Earlier today, we saw that the National Assembly were the first people to approve that emergency rule. And now the Senate then went into a closed-door meeting. Afterwards, we heard that they have also approved, the emergency rule. There's a lot going on in the news. And, these are all legalities that truly I don't have the expertise for. And that's why I'm thankful that we have someone that is joining us via Zoom today to just have this conversation. I'll tell a funny story. And I know my father is watching. So I woke up this morning to so many missed calls from my mom and my dad. A lot of people in Nigeria, we are just afraid. A lot of people also, because maybe it is years of seeing how these people do things without any form of, conscience, to feel like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. Our fathers, our grandfathers, they've learned to live with it. I don't know if I might also get to that point where I'm now telling my children to be quiet or just, allow things to just be, and so that you don't put yourself in harm's way. But that's the reality of where we are right now in Nigeria, right? Parents are genuinely afraid and worried about their children's safety because of what we see in the country. And if you have a legislative arm that is supposed to protect and uphold the Constitution and uphold the laws, and it seems like, most of the things that are being done within those chambers are more on, protecting personal interests and all of that, then it just leaves a lot of sour taste in the mouths of so many Nigerians. But that is not for me to say. My job here is to just, say what needs to be said and then bring the experts to help us to explain. So when I come back from that break, Qudus, right? Alalafia. He will be joining me to have these conversations. Qudus Alalafia. Yeah, let me not funkify his name. Stay with me, we'll be right back.
Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlights. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we'll connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time.
All right, thanks for staying with me. Now, the question of whether the National Assembly is upholding the country's constitution is a pressing concern. A recent example that raises doubts about the National Assembly's commitment to upholding the Constitution is the declaration of the state of emergency in Rivers State by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The declaration, which suspends the elected government of Rivers State, has been met with opposition from various quarters. I mean, we mentioned how the Nigerian Bar Association came out, former presidential candidates, Peter Obi and Atiku came out yesterday. So many people, different quarters have just come out to condemn that act. And of course, recently also a politician in Lagos, Funsho Dohati also, he argues that the suspension of the elected government is unconstitutional and violates Nigeria's democratic principle. He also pointed out that while the president has powers to declare a state of emergency, subject to the concurrence of the National Assembly, the Constitution does not empower the president or the federal government to suspend the government of a state. Now, so this raises important questions about the role of the National Assembly in upholding the Constitution. Is the National Assembly fulfilling its constitutional duties, or is it allowing the executive arm of government to overstep its bound? The answer to this question, of course, has significant implications for the failure of Nigeria's democracy. Questions like, does the president have constitutional power to suspend the government of the state? Is the National Assembly fulfilling its constitutional duty in relation to the declaration of the state of emergency? What are the implications of the National Assembly or National Assembly's action for the future of Nigeria's democracy? And of course, how can the National Assembly be held accountable for upholding the Constitution? All right, so Qudus Alalafia. Yes, he's here. He's a Qudus Alalafia Esquire. Yes, let me add that. He's a legal practitioner, and he's joined me via Zoom to have this conversation. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be on this program tonight.
All right, so...
Thank you.
Yeah. First of all, based on all the events that have happened between yesterday, today, and what we've seen happen in the assemblies, both the Senate and the House of Rep, tell me what your summation is with what is going on, in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much. The truth is that if we are going to look into the major activities of the National Assembly today, as well as major executive orders and directives, there are so many of them that obviously calls for questioning. I would like to mention, before answering this particular question, I would like to make reference to the Senate conduct in the course of handling Senator Natasha's suspension. I have had cause to appear on national TV to condemn that act because the entire procedure is against what we call the principle of natural justice. And I said the mere fact that the Senate president was the one that sat or presided over the plenary, which now suspended Honorable Natasha, made the entire procedure null and void, notwithstanding the standing orders and the legislative protection, Houses and Protection Act, Privileges Houses and Protection Act, notwithstanding those two laws. Any conduct or any action which is against natural justice shall be usually, oftentimes, struck down. But you see, with respect to the emergence or the proclamation of state of emergency in Rivers State, we need to look at it very well. We need to look at it because every circumstance or every issue must be decided based on their peculiarity. But one thing I've come to realize is that perhaps because of what we Nigerians are going through, everybody is affected because of the harsh economic realities, because of the unfavorable government policies. Everybody is aware. Nigerians tend to, whether or not that action of government was taken in the interest of public peace and order, whether it was taken with, shall I say, natural mind, Nigerians are naturally prejudiced.
Okay.
They don't want to listen. They don't want to know what happened. Now I'm laying a foundation because the state of emergency, which was declared by the president in Rivers State, if you look at it very well, I will say it is within its constitutional mandate. That's number one. Now, the question is this: does the president now has the power to suspend all elected officials of Rivers State, from the governor to deputy governor and to all the members of the Rivers State House of Assembly? The whole truth is that based on the peculiarity of what has happened in Rivers State, it is my submission that it is still within the presidential or constitutional mandate of the governor, of the president, to do that. But like I said, based on the peculiarity of Rivers State crisis.
Qudus, I would like for you to explain what, when you say peculiarity, I'd like us to break down things, right? When you say peculiarity, yeah, what are the conditions that would even guarantee, so that would warrant a state of emergency in the first place? I mean, the Nigerian Bar Association gave us a long list yesterday, right? Where they listed all the things and the why a president would declare a state of emergency. That's number one. There was a report that I saw about kidnapping in Nigeria, for instance. Let's just give case scenarios. Kidnapping in Nigeria, it was said that between May of 2023 and April of 2024, the Nigerians paid about 2.23 trillion naira. That's approximately 1.4 billion naira to kidnappers for kidnap ransom. When you say state of emergency, right, if you say, okay, this is something that is threatening the lives and the well-being of Nigerians, for me, that is even more of a pandemic than what is going on in Rivers State, right? So if you say you want to break down the, what's it called? You want to break down the peculiarity of that case, please break it down for me. I want to understand what would have warranted a state of emergency in Rivers State.
All right, thank you very much. Now, let's take it I will come back to the issue of kidnapping, but let's start with this issue of Rivers State. Now, the Constitution, particularly in this regard, Section 305 that everybody has been quoting, highlights various circumstances upon which a state of emergency can be declared. Now, what do we even call state of emergency? Let's even start from the definition or from the nature or the context, the conceptual meaning of state of emergency. It simply means that the usual public order, the usual state of affairs of a particular state may be put into a drastic check through a restrictive measures. Now, when you put it into that concept, it therefore means that depending on what is happening at that point would make the person who now holds that power to determine what it will use the so-called state of emergency to attract, or should I say, how may I put it? I want to break it down in such a manner that even a layman will understand. It's like a stick. You are the one holding it, and you are the one to make sure that, okay, this stick, I want to determine what I want to use it for. Now, if you look at the issue of Rivers State, it was a pure power tussle between the executive and the legislature. It got to a point where the governor was no longer respecting the authority of the legislative house. It also got to a point where the legislative arm of government, that's the Rivers State House of Assembly, was also not respecting the authority of the governor. Now, the governor went ahead with minority members of the Rivers State House of Assembly.
Qudus, because of the time that we have. No, wait, I need to explain something to you. Because of the time constraint that we have, right? If we are going into all of these details, we might not get a headway in the conversation, you know. So please, as much as we can, let's try to just keep the answers a bit brief and let us just hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
Because the question I asked is the president in his right, you know, you have said it that based on interpretations, right, he is in his right to suspend an elected official. I choose to be quiet and just listen, because you see, the truth is, I don't know how the legalities work, but I also understand that, you know, as it seems to a lot of people, and this is not just my opinion, so many people have called that act, you know, a breach of the Constitution. But you are saying that it is in his right to do. So I'm trying to ask you to help me understand why you say that it is okay for the president to do what he's done.
Yes. That is what I'm trying to break down. Now, like I said the president, the governor, has gotten to a point where he doesn't respect the authority of the legislature. The legislature as well has gotten to a point where they do not respect the authority of the governor. At that point, there is a fusion between what we call the separation of power. Now, let's go to Section 305. Section 305, subsection 3, paragraph C, says the president shall have the power to issue a proclamation of a state of emergency only when, then you go to C, because it has different conditions. Yeah, when the state is at war and all those stuff. That is not what is happening in Rivers State. But what is happening in Rivers State is covered under Section 305, subsection 3, paragraph C. And I'm going to put it out. Now, it said, it says, the president shall have the power to issue a proclamation of a state of emergency only when there is actual breakdown of public order, 1, and public safety, 2, in the federation or any part, in this instance, Rivers State, to such extent as to require extraordinary measure to restore peace and security. Now, we all have been following the scenario where, in fact, the last thing that happened before the president now proclaimed that state of emergency was that the House of Assembly were on the verge of impeaching the governor. We've now seen a video of the governor publicly telling the youths of the state to wait for further instruction. We've also seen online where there are threats and counter threats. Oh, you want to impeach the governor? Then come and impeach. Oh, we will impeach the governor, to the extent that there was an attempt to even probe the chief judge of the state on age falsification. Now, the question is, why is the issue of the judge, the CJ, the age falsification coming out at this instance? The answer is very simple, because the chief judge has a critical role to play in the proceedings leading to the impeachment of the governor. Now, you will now see that at the point when the political nature of Rivers State was tensed, at that point, because it was so obvious that parties are now looking at the loopholes in the constitution to protect themselves. Oh, if you say we as Rivers State House of Assembly, you do not recognize us, they go as far as up to Supreme Court to reclaim their mandate. Oh, the governor is also using his own executive powers under the constitution to say, I'll protect myself. Whatever the governor says does not hold water. Whatever the House of Assembly says does not hold water. At that point, governance has broken down. Now, there is a law which is a supplement to the Constitution, in fact, to this particular section called the Emergency Powers
But wait,
Act.
Qudus, I like where you are going, but you see, you're not hitting the point where we need to drive it, and I need you to help me hit it because we don't have the time.
Yes,
the point,
yes,
see, you are saying everything that you've said. There was a Supreme Court judgment. The governor came out to say, okay,
yes,
he has accepted the judgment, right? He tried to make, when you say breakdown of law and order, in our 2023 general elections in Nigeria here, where we saw physically people were being chased with machete and different kinds of things. There was that one alone was breakdown of law and order, but yet nobody did anything called state of emergency. Are you trying to tell me that the president has not abused his power as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria by declaring a state of emergency? Given the fact that before this should be even declared, there was supposed to be a consultation with the National Assembly. That did not happen. They did not have that consultation.
No.
Oh, hold on, let me finish, because this is. Let me finish. They didn't, that consultation did not happen. Then they were supposed to even approve before he swears in this sole administrator. Everything was done. It is after the fact that we're now seeing the National Assembly and the State House of Rep, the House of Rep members now approving what the president has already done. Does it make sense? Why are we being selective when it comes to abiding by the rules? The same thing you are saying that the governor flaunted the rules, right, by using 3 men to sign a budget into law. It's the same accusation right now before the president. And I'm really hoping that you will tell me that act of the president, you understand, you can justify that what he has done was done, constitutionally.
Can I proceed now?
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Now, this is it. Let me take it from the angle where you said ordinarily the National Assembly ought to have approved before they proceeded. That is not the law. But I will read. Section 305, again. In fact, subsection 1 says, subject to the provisions of this Constitution, the President may, by instruments published in the official gazette of the government of the Federation, issue a proclamation of a state of emergency in the Federation or any part thereof. 2, the President shall immediately after the publication you can see, shall immediately after the publication transmit copies of the official gazette of the government of the Federation containing the proclamation, including the details of the emergency, to the President of the Senate and Speaker of the House of Representatives, each of whom shall forthwith convene or arrange for a meeting of the House of which is the President or Speaker, as the case may be, to consider the situation and decide whether or not to pass a resolution approving the proclamation. This is the law. You see, the truth is
so
this, like
the suspension part,
initially,
I'm happy that you are hitting the questions now direct. This part where the president then suspends elected official, can you also read that part for me from the law that says that he's also allowed to do that?
Okay. Now, if you read section 11, subsection 3 of the Emergency Powers Act of 2018, it was passed. It's an act of the National Assembly that allowed a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to suspend. The question of whether it is a good law or not is another question for another day. And it is something that we can still test its validity before the courts. But I'm telling you that there is a law in Nigeria called the Emergency Powers Act 2018 that empowers the president to suspend. And that particular law was made pursuant to Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution. Now, if that is the case, and that's why I've referred you to Section 11, subsection 3 of that law. Now, the truth is this. If you look at some scholars, or should I say colleagues, have argued that the proper thing to have been done is for the National Assembly to impeach the governor. And I am saying that we are talking about two arms of government that do not respect each other. They do not respect the procedure emanating. A governor was coming to House of Assembly and he was shut out. 1, 2. A governor that I know usually have an advanced team. If you are going to go to that extent, usually have an advanced team who will communicate as to the readiness of the place that he was going. Is the governor, as the chief security officer of the state, is saying that he was not aware that the key of the National Assembly was was locked. 2, a governor that wakes up in a day to say, we are renovating the National Assembly, the House of Assembly, and pulled it down. I am saying the two arms of government has faced each other in a war. And based on that, that is a clear definition of public order, because at that point, governance has broken down. Nobody is respecting the other part. That is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So for me, if I can just wrap it, for me, acting based on the law that I've stated, Section 305, subsection 3C, and Section 11, subsection 3 of the Emergency Powers Act of 2018, which allows the president to suspend a sitting governor. I am saying the best thing is for all parties to excuse themselves. Perhaps they will be able to come back to the round table to now see why they need to work together.
Okay. Thank you. We'll take a break, right? Let's take a break. I would like for you to explain when you say all parties. By all parties, who do you mean? Who are your exact all parties? We'll take a break. We'll be right back to continue the conversation. Stay with us. Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health,
education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
All right, thanks for staying tuned. Now, if you just tuned in, we're having the conversation and we're asking, is our National Assembly upholding our Constitution? Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-8663. Our phone lines are also now open. The numbers to call are 070-2500-7749 or 070-1424-2420. As I said, we have introduced the segment, so all you need to do is send and add me to WhatsApp, the WhatsApp line right now. We can also add you via our video call-in, so you can be part of the show. Before we went on a break, right, Qudus, you said something around all parties excusing themselves, and just let's try to resolve this issue. By all parties, what do you mean? Who are the parties that are involved in this? Because it seems like we are so, even though we know the obvious, we are so intentional about not mentioning a key player in this breakdown of law and order that you have put it, which is supposed to be, what's his name, the current minister for the FCT, Wike. So by all parties, who are you referring to?
I was referring to the executive arm of government in Rivers State, as well as the legislative arm of government in Rivers State. Now, you see, if we are going to be talking about law strictly, we are going to be talking about law stricto sensu. We are not going to mention Nyesom Wike. But when we are talking about politics, when we are talking about politicking, that we mention his name. So my role here as a lawyer is to analyze what the law says. So, because if you look at it, whatever Nyesom Wike is believed to have been done by him, what he did behind the camera. The power play here is the governor, the deputy governor, as well, and their commissioners, as well as the legislative arm of government. So we are not going to look at it strictly on that line. But if we are going to be talking in the line of analyzing public affairs, politics,
so we will not mention,
that we bring in
okay, so fair enough. Let's move on quickly. The question for tonight is our National Assembly upholding our Constitution? Do you see them as an effective National Assembly that is doing the job that they are supposed to do?
Thank you very much. The truth that is very clear to everybody is that they are not doing their best. They are not doing their best. Even as I hold the opinion that the president has the constitutional power or mandate to suspend officials in Rivers State, I also have issues with the way and manner the House of Representatives, as well as the Senate, approved that state of emergency. You see, we are to discuss issues based on how it happens. Now, if you look at them, because this question is now particular with the NASS, with the National Assembly, the law says 2/3. Ordinarily, their votes ought to be in a, what do you call it, in a physical vote, whereby there are 2 votes, maybe through by ticking or by writing something that whereby they are going to do head counts, because the Constitution says 2/3. But what do we have? We have voice votes.
The ayes have it.
Yeah, exactly. the law did not actually, the constitution did not actually tell them how they should put it into votes. That is the truth. The constitution does says 2/3 of the National Assembly. But the issue we now have is that if you look at, okay, when they say 2/3, how do you arrive at a 2/3, if not by numbering? Can you arrive at 2/3 by voice votes? What if
But what you had, Qudus, what you had in the National Assembly this morning was the ayes have it. There was no nay.
So that's what I'm saying.
So maybe that would justify that they are 2/3.
The answer to that is that they are not doing enough. In fact, so far, if I'm going to rate them right from, should I say, from 2019 to date. In 2015 to 2019, when Bukola Saraki was there, I think there was a bit checks and balances between the president and the Senate, as well as the House of Representatives. But these people that we have there, with utmost respect to them, is more or less like a rubber stamp. And where you just say the highs are in this situation, what if I want to vote, but I'm afraid, because in Nigeria now, once you have a dissenting opinion, they come for you. So I would not want anybody to come for me. I would rather want to say yes alongside with the majority. But I can bet it with you, if they had asked them to put it into votes, personal vote, whereby they are going to do head counts. There's something they call open secret ballot system. We would definitely have people who will vote who will vote against this state of emergency. Please, I will also want you to pay attention to the fact that there was a scenario that happened at the House of Representatives where two honorable members, they are female, were having altercation on this same issue. The question is, the other person that did not agree as to that state of emergency, where was her voice when they were calling for, when they were doing that voice vote? Perhaps she chose not to answer. So for me, the National Assembly they are not doing enough. But you see, the way I usually take things is that I go back to what the law says. Section 13 and Section 14 of the Constitution says sovereignty belongs to the people, through which this Constitution derives its authority. Which means the real power is in the hands of the masses.
Are you sure about that?
Wait now. In Nigerian context, we have the law and we have the reality of law.
And that's why I was going to ask that. How possible
No, that's
is that?
I was coming to that.
Go ahead.
You see, the truth is this. Leave people in government is a matter of garbage in, garbage out. An average Nigerian is not ready to do the right thing. And I can bet it with you today. If you look at what is happening in Natasha's this thing now, women coming from Senator Akpabio's constituency, senatorial districts, agitating for him. Women against a fellow woman in the Senate. Forget the issue of after all, we call it one indivisible and one indissoluble sovereign nature. The sovereign nation, which means we are one. But we have women now staging protests. Whether they were giving money, whether they are not giving money is another case. But I'm even saying they have the F-13 to come out to wage protest against their fellow woman. 1, 2. At the point when Senator Natasha went to the outside Nigeria to speak, this interparliamentary at the UN level, who responded on behalf of the Senate? Another female senator. Why should we have this? Why will they not look at the issue holistically? Somebody has presented a petition.
But the body language, right, has continuously shown to us that it doesn't seem like, first of all, our opinions count, and they can actually do whatever it is that they want to do, and nobody's going to question it.
But I'm even saying
so let me explain
that
something. That is
if
why
you see, we have
the
how
body
many people are
language
in
and the
government?
actions of the president is also very critical. A lot of people saw his action as being one-sided. A lot of people saw his action as being, you are trying to punish one and, accept another one. Right? That was what a lot of people saw.
Okay.
But let me explain. So as long as we
Okay,
continue to have a situation where, you understand, it doesn't seem like, see, let me tell you something about laws and fairness and justice. If I come out today and my child that I gave birth to stole something and I tell the world or whoever is in charge, put him in jail. You understand? And tomorrow, your child comes out too and does the same thing and I say, put it in jail. Nobody will question my stance on whether I stand for fairness and justice. Nobody's going to question it. But every single time there's an opportunity that presents itself that is supposed to show to us that there is clarity and transparency in the system, there's just something that does not sit right with some of the structures that we have, right? Because even to the point where people are thinking that the Supreme Court is being used against, a particular person. So it just leaves a bitter taste in the mouth of a lot of people because it seems like this system is not to be trusted. So even if they do something right, yes, it will be hard for us to see it that it's the right thing that was done.
Exactly.
When we will see it, we'll continue to question
God bless you for coming. God bless you. Exactly what I have been saying. I agree. In fact, you just nailed my thoughts in full. You see, let's set aside law now. Let me assume the responsibility of public affairs and analysts. If we are going to be fair, the president, with the way and manner he has micromanaged the situation, of course, he's biased. And if we are going to hit the nail on the head, morality, here now we are talking about morality and what the law says. Morality dictates that immediately you suspend these two people, you ought to also suspend your own minister too. Because everybody is aware, and the minister is not hiding it. He speaks on it at every given opportunity. You ought to also suspend him. Perhaps that would have given a bit of confidence in what he has done. But you see, as a lawyer, you must do away with all sentiment and look at what does the law says. And look at what is the law. Now, whether the law now needs an amendment or not is another thing we now need to talk about. Because once we see that, you see, we talk of law and justice. And I see that a lot of our people, or an average Nigerian, is after justice. But the truth is that it is the law that will determine what justice is. And that is why, even where it is very conspicuous that somebody has committed a crime, if the prosecution is unable to prove it in law, the court will have no other choice than to discharge an accused.
Okay, let me take justice. Sorry, quickly. I believe justice is on standby. He's also a legal practitioner that said the president ought to have been impeached based on his actions. So just to quickly hear your thoughts, Justice. The National Assembly and the Senate, they have approved what the president has done and, approved his state of emergency declaration. So what are your thoughts, quickly?
Fine. All of them have committed the same constitutional breach, because the Constitution provides that the modus operandi, the way it should be done. It said if the National Assembly is on seat within 2 days, and now remember that immediately the president suspended or made that proclamation and suspended the governor. The next day, he swore in the military administrator or whoever the sole administrator. So that is a total departure and a breach of that section of the Constitution. So the Assembly themselves have also flouted the law. They are supposed to have asked Mr. President, why did you do this? As far as I'm concerned, it's an impeachable offense. So you see, legality cannot arise out of illegality. Because the foreign has already taken place before the National Assembly now came to ratify. I don't know where we're going in this country. I don't know what we are doing. What is happening to us in this country? It's unfortunate. It now goes to show the allegation by every Nigerian that this National Assembly is a rubber-stamp National Assembly. That is what it has gone to show.
Okay, so Qudus, do you want to quickly respond to what Justice has said?
Okay, you see, what my learned colleague has commented on is on procedural law. We have the substantive law, we have the procedural law. Now, a president has declared a state of emergency. The next thing was to suspend all elected officials. They went ahead to swear in the sole administrator. Now, if you look at the section of the Constitution that I quoted out the other time, it said immediately after that proclamation, the National Assembly will convene to approve or disapprove, which means the simple interpretation of it is that ratification or approval ought to come before the swearing in. So I agree with him. That's why I said it's a matter of procedural law. So based on the president swearing in the sole administrator, as at the time when it has not been approved, it is wrong. But however, as we speak today, the National Assembly has approved it, has ratified it, and in law, of course, for all intents and purposes, as we speak, it is valid until that procedure or that process is overturned by a competent court of law.
Justice, do you want to comment on this? Because today I don't even have anything to say. Go ahead.
Well, the truth is that the law is stable. You cannot separate procedural law and substantive law. If we were not talking about disjunctive and conjunctive, the law did not provide for disjunctive or conjunctive. Once the law says something, it must be followed better. I mean, what are we saying? He who comes to equity must come with clean hands. I mean, it's so unfortunate because I don't think there's any right-thinking person in this country or scholar or law or a legal practitioner that will support what Mr. President and the National Assembly has done. In fact, they have buried democracy. They have buried our constitution. It's so unfortunate. I don't think there's anybody that will give it a ratification. But be it as it may, just like we say, for people like us, we knew this is what was going to happen. Because if you remember, there is this allegation or sin that even Mr. President, before the proclamation, had a meeting with key members of the state executive, including some members of the National Assembly. So what are we saying? Well, it is not new to us. People will always say this is Nigeria, but we should be very, very careful. And let it be clear to every Nigerian that we are not practicing democracy. Rather, what we have today is what I call passive democracy. There's no justification for the total abuse of power and the abuse of the Constitution. We better say we are not practicing democracy.
Okay.
We should stop destroying ourselves in this country.
Thank you so much, Justice, for your time. Do you want to give us the final thoughts, Qudus?
Well, in a nutshell, it's one of those things that happens in Nigeria, but I think we will still get it right. But let us have one thing in mind, that whatever you do, whenever you see yourself in the corridors of power, remember that power is transit. Whoever that is there must leave one day. And what the precedent you set is what will be used to remember you. There are no two ways about it. And that explains to you why most of our past leaders, till today, you don't hear their names, you don't hear their families. God has a way of paying them back in their own coin.
Thank you so much. Qudus, your final thoughts, please.
Yes, from my own end, I will enjoin all Nigerians. We are looking at our leaders and we are looking at what they are doing. 2027 is around the corner. Let's do away with religious sentiments, ethnic bigotry, and all sort of personal affairs, and let's choose leaders we believe they will do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That's a great way to wrap up the conversation. You guys made my job very easy today because I had no intention to say anything on this matter. But thank you for your time this evening. I think you guys have done justice to the conversation. Let's keep watching and watching what will go, the events that would happen, you know, as the matter unfolds, because it's an ongoing event. We'll keep on watching to see what happens. Again, yes, before we go, ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channels at Official Upgrade TV. You can interact with us further. Drop a comment and follow all our engagements on social media. Invite your families and friends to watch and follow the show. If you missed the quote for today, it says, the emergency rule declared by the president requires the approval of the National Assembly with a 2/3 majority vote by members. And this was from a honorable member of the Assembly, Honorable Ade Morikuye. I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.